What's going on, guys? It's Unchained here, and we are doing a should you buy video for Lords of the Fallen, a game that is very, very reminiscent to Dark Souls, and it's intended to be like Dark Souls. I can't think of the developer right now. Let me grab my box so I can talk about who made this damn game. Let's see, Deck 13 made this game, and it's inspired by Dark Souls and Demon Souls. Now, off first glance, just by the general movement, stances, and heads-up display, you can kind of get a feel for it. The yellowish orange bar is your stamina, the blue under it is your magic. Like when I decide to use a magic ability, let me switch to one real quick. And apparently that shield bash ability counts as magic. I'm learning new things every minute. And then the red is health. You could switch between your items here, and by holding the use button, which is on the Xbox One, it's X, you can use your potions. Now, I just wanted to start the video off here because this is a really cool vista. We're going to go back to this area. I've been playing this game for maybe 4 or 5 hours now, and I gotta say, it's not up to par with Dark Souls. When I first started with Dark Souls myself, I wasn't that good. Like anyone really would be. It's kind of hard to be really good at Dark Souls unless you put, like, all your time into it. It's one of those games that takes a lot of dedication, and you need to understand what each moveset's, I guess, strengths and weaknesses are, and how the enemies attack, and how rolling is very important. You need to understand how important timing is in this game. Just like you would in Dark Souls. But the problem with this game is, you'll have a lot of enemies. I'm going to show you an example here of why this game isn't as great as Dark Souls. Now, with these enemies here, let's say I wanted to run around him. Like, let's say I didn't feel like fighting this guy. Now, you will have a lot of enemies in Dark Souls that you're just going to want to run through. In this game, if you try to run past some enemies, they have attacks like that. They'll stun lock you, essentially, and you fucking can't get away. Like, look at this. Look how much damage I took just trying to get away from these two guys. And obviously there's a lot stronger enemies that can do way more damage. With these particular enemies, what you need to do is block with the shield, and then wait for them to be stunned, and then you can attack with your sword. Now, I'm going to emphasize in this game, I understand that the attacks are supposed to be slow. I understand the enemy movements are supposed to be highly choreographed, so you could try to find an opening. But this game makes it very difficult to attack. It's just ridiculous. Like, in Dark Souls, you know, I was pure crap until I figured out how good halberds are, and I ended up being a really, really big fan of halberds and spears. I liked keeping my distance and, you know, just so you can poke away. Now, this game has a lot of really cool animations, sort of like that one right there, where you just kind of run at them, you hold the right trigger, and he does like a smack right in the face. But to get this off, you're going to be using up so much stamina early on in the game. This is the Great Sword moveset, and it's just slow as shit. Obviously, each weapon has its own, I guess, choreographed animation, if you will, that you're going to have to get used to. They're all very, very slow, but you'd expect a short axe like this to be a lot faster. Now, I'm two-handing it right now. If I hit Y, I'm going to single-hand it. So if I run up to this guy and I want to hit R, look how long it took to do that jump. It's just frigging terrible. I know that they said that there are some short swords and daggers that can do a lot of damage, but then you can have a shield up, because then you're dual-wielding the weapons. Another issue in this game that I have, anytime you verse enemies that have shields up like this, it's fucking impossible to get an attack in. There's a very short window by which you're allowed to attack. Sometimes it's in front of them. After they attack, they're open to some vulnerability frames. And sometimes you're just left to have to strafe around them until the game decides it's a good time to attack. Now, I'm not going to say that you can't get better at this and be more successful than I am, but it just seems like it's way too fucking difficult. Like, if this was Dark Souls, all you'd have to do is strafe around them and then stab them in the back. But with this game, it's programmed to follow you no matter how fast you go around them. And the problem with this is there's so many tight corridors, you're very, very rarely ever going to have enough time to roll or run around them with efficiency. So, fuck it. I don't even feel like fighting them. So you run away from a lot of enemies that have shields and stuff like that. Any frontal defense enemies are just close to impossible to take down. The fun ones are enemies like this, because they're not as armored. They're a little bit more manageable to go around. Yeah, so when you single-hand this, it's slow. It's not as bad if you two-hand it. You just need to find what balance works for you. For my taste, I wish it was a little bit more like Dark Souls in the combat department. Most of the time I feel like I'm just, screwed and I can't do anything. Like here I'm going to try to use the shield. All right, so he's not stunned, but I found a good opening. So I'm going to start hacking away at this guy. Now, there's a lot of really questionable things about the animations. A lot of times when enemies attack you in this, it seems like they shouldn't actually be hitting you. But it's almost like their front attacks are magnetized towards your character, especially on boss fights where you fight enemies with really long swords. It's just really cheap. So you got to get used to what works. I found I've read at the end of this game, it can get to a point where you're just going to be so overpowered, you're not going to have a challenge with it anymore. Like, notice there, I got to swing in and dealt all the damage that's gone from his health. But if I swing again, it's not going to do anything. So you're forced to wait for him to swing, and look, see, I hit him on that opening, no damage dealt. And here comes his fucking butt buddy, so you can't do anything. So, like I said earlier, it's probably best to just run. But yeah, fighting shielded enemies is terrible. As for the environments themselves, a lot of people, from what I read, seem to really like the graphics. I'm not a fan. I think a lot of people that have been saying that have been playing it on PC at 1080p, 60 frames a second. A lot of people have been having issues with the graphics. I'm playing on Xbox One, and I know what everyone's thinking. Once again, the game is at a higher resolution on PS4, so why are you playing the Xbox One version? Well, I like the Xbox One. I like earning achievements. I love the controller. I have a lot of really good games that are way prettier than this, that run better. I mean, I was playing The Evil Within the last few weeks, and it looks like shit too. And it's just like, there's so many games this generation that have been optimized by a bunch of monkeys or something. I don't know. It just looks bad and it runs bad. This game has a lot of random frame rate issues and graphical glitches. I haven't had any crashes on the Xbox One, which is nice. I had one occasion where the character just froze and stopped moving, but after mashing buttons, he went right back. But as you'll notice just from this video, there's a lot of chop and frequent frame rate jumps. To the judge who protected people with his wisdom, faith, and hammer. I've never actually interacted with that before, so I don't know what that means. You might need certain items for that. But yeah, there's a lot of like subtle texture and shadow pop-ins when you're walking. See that on the tree that happened there? It's just like, it doesn't even look that good, and it still has pop-in. It's like, what the hell is going on? Now, a lot of my criticisms of this game don't really sound too happy. And the question is, the question is, do I like it? Sadly enough, despite its problems, I do really like it. I mean, we don't have any Dark Souls type of games on the next-gen consoles. This is the closest thing to Dark Souls we're going to get. And truthfully, despite the fact it runs like dog shit, it's actually kind of fun to play. And the armor and everything is just really cool. It's really fun equipping your character with armor. Oh, there's one of those the back attack animations. Luckily, you're invincible during it, so you don't have to worry about taking damage. So that one's kind of cool there. But yeah, this is my favorite weapon so far. I just wish it wasn't so fucking slow. Like, I don't mind heavy weapons being slow, but I want it to be, like, manageably slow. But yeah, I'm kind of running back to the beginning. I'm taking this area in reverse here because I want to fight some low-level enemies, so when I'm talking to you guys about it, it doesn't seem like I'm getting my ass kicked too bad. So yeah, I think we'll start heading back now. But yeah, look at the bitmaps here. Most of this game takes place in a castle environment, in this like snowy mountaintop, and apparently there isn't much level variety. From what I've seen, and once again, I've only been playing for maybe 3 or 4 hours, maybe 5. There's even copy pasting early on. I mean, here's just a random example. This area here, this is the North Watchtower. And you'll see this exact same level layout on the opposite side of this bridge. So this is the North Watchtower, and you cross this bridge and see that building right there? That's the South Watchtower. So they recycle a couple of things, and it's kind of annoying. I mean, I guess you would expect, the North and South Watchtowers to be symmetrical because it's on a fucking, like, bridge. But I don't know. I mean, with Dark Souls, you have caverns and pits and grassy areas and swamps. With this game, from what I heard, it's all castle and it's all snowy peaks. See, you notice those last 2 swings didn't really do any damage. Why? I don't know. This game is random. Yeah, as far as the menus are concerned, we're talking Diablo 3 here. I know I've been comparing games to Diablo 3 lately, but yeah, this is totally Diablo 3-esque. You could change your gear here, and there's no limit to how much you can hold. You can hold as many things as you want in your inventory. The only thing you got to keep in mind is the weight, because like Dark Souls, the heavier you are, the slower you're going to be. Now, normally you'd say to yourself, well, I want to just be a tank. I don't care if I'm slow. I want to equip heavy armor and be able to endure as much damage as possible. Well, you might want to consider that kind of doofy of an idea. At least the early hours, you might want to make sure you're a faster character, because, I don't know, the invincibility frames aren't as consistent as they are in Dark Souls, and it's probably a good idea to make yourself fast enough to be able to roll out of the way, because you're not going to want to roll once or twice. Some of these animations go on for a while for the enemies, so you want to be able to roll at least 3 times. Right now, I'm a medium build. You get a choice between 3 classes at the beginning: Rogue, Cleric, and I believe Warrior, and I'm Warrior. So I'm mostly about heavy defense, enduring attacks, strong attacks. I still feel like I get taken out really quick. There's a couple bosses that one-shot you, which is kind of annoying if you don't know what you're doing. But yeah, like Dark Souls, it does have a lot of trial and error. I'm not going to go as far as saying it's anywhere near as hard as Dark Souls, because it definitely isn't. It definitely borrows a lot of elements from it. Like I said before, the heads-up display, a lot of the controls are very similar, and it's very similar in a gameplay aspect, whereas you got to watch the enemies attack and attack them when you get an opening. But keep in mind, when you play this, you're going to have a lot of performance problems, and the animations are much slower in this game than they are in Dark Souls. And it's really annoying. It just feels like a lot of the battles are just cheap. And it feels like a lot of the losses are due to bad game design. Like, there's no reason why you can't go around a shielded enemy and stab him in the back. Or there's no reason why you can't, like, actively break the shield and keep swinging. The problem with this game is, if you use a shield breaking ability or an armor breaking ability, like, every so often, like, I don't know how to do it just yet, but I know there's a kick. When you get the kick off, the recovery on the actual animation is so slow that you'll never get a hit in before the enemy starts attacking you again. Like, just for fun, I'm gonna mess with this guy a little bit. Okay, let's say I hit R right now. Doesn't break his shield. Alright, that time I decided to wait for him to attack. I attack him, nothing. I couldn't do anything because it took so long to swing. So it's like, alright, well, Tom, why are you so stupid? Why don't you just use a faster weapon? Well, fine. I'll use the short sword. So this time, let's try to go faster here. Now look at this. I only got one swing in, and the other attack was blocked. I can't go around him. You can't, like, you can hold A to run, which is great, but notice how I'm not making any leverage on the back of this guy. Now, I'm making such emphasis on these shielded enemies because I just feel like in a lot of ways they make the game really, really unplayable. Like, in that particular situation, sure, I was finally able to go around him after much trial and error. In that particular case, I waited for him to use that one particular animation where he bashed his shield into the ground and he was stunned. And then I ran around his back and stabbed him in the back for a finishing kill. Now, you don't always get this lucky. A lot of times you're not going to get the kill. You're just going to have to run. But who knows? With Dark Souls, it just feels like the combat is more refined. This game is fun. Would I recommend getting it? Not really. This is the first time I've done a Should You Buy video where I suggest you shouldn't get it. I just feel like there's too many performance problems, too many graphical issues. The game doesn't run as smoothly as you like for a game that involves really strict timing on dodges. The bosses are kind of cookie cutter. The enemies aren't that special. They borrow a lot of the enemy types from Dark Souls. If you love Dark Souls and you just need to play something like that on next gen, give it a try. But at least in the opening hours, you're going to have a lot of frustrations with the combat. I know I'm still getting frustrated at it. Even after you figure it out, it still has issues because it allows your character to almost be overpowered once you dump enough points into strength and shit. One thing that I do have to mention before I cut this video off, though, it's extremely important I point out that this game is a very interesting checkpoint system. The game is very, very linear. Let me point that out. It's extremely linear. There's a bunch of branching paths that tend to fold in on themselves to make the levels seem very, very complex. It tries to give the illusion of an open world, but it just makes it feel like cluttered and confusing, especially when you don't have any form of radar or map. So the level design is linear with a few branching paths, and there are side quests to accomplish, which is good to know. With the checkpoints, every time you get experience from enemies, you can bank your experience, meaning you can go right to the checkpoint crystals, which are those red things that I walked by earlier, and you can go into your menu and you can dump experience into either spells or your skill attributes, so that the experience is there and you can apply the points whenever you choose. If you want, you can keep on fighting enemies and maintain that experience, like hold on to it, and you'll build up a multiplier, and every time you kill an enemy, the multiplier will go up, and it increases the rare drops and obviously the experience you gain from killing subsequent enemies. Like right here, if I choose to use it, each of these crystals here that rotates or hovers around it, or orbits the crystal, those represent the potions you can replenish. Now, I can only hold up to 5 at this point in the game, so I can only get those on checkpoint. Now, if I hit the back button here, go into the character development screen. Under that circle on the left there, you'll see my current experience. It's 1559, so I can choose to either hold the left trigger to put some into spells, or I could hold the right trigger to put some into my skills. Now, you notice that one went over the edge there, so I have 1 attribute point. So, I can choose to put an attribute on my character. I'm going to put another one towards strength, and hit A to confirm it, and now I have 18 strength. So, if you choose to hold on to that experience and you don't activate a checkpoint, thus, replenishing your potions, like I said, you will get a higher multiplier. So it's really a gamble. It's about if you want to level up quick or you want to try to take your chances and build up experience. It's a fun system. I kind of wish Dark Souls would take that idea and maybe incorporate it into Bloodborne, because it's really cool. These are the enemies that I was talking about earlier, where it's just so impossible to get around them when it shouldn't be. Like in Dark Souls, you could just roll away and just start running and say fuck it. But look how they're fucking me up right now. Like, let's say I was trying as hard as I could just to get away and heal and like recover for a minute. I mean, thank God that you can actually like hit start and you're not in game and you could mess with your inventory. But look how annoying this is. The only way to actually attack these enemies effectively is to switch to your shield, target one of them, which the targeting system is very clunky, and then attack them off of a successful parry or block. But yeah, this game can be very annoying. I figured I'd point more of the negatives out than the positives, because I want people to know what they're getting into with this. If you like Dark Souls, you might like this, but you need to hold this game to a much lower standard. Graphically, I do not find this game impressive at all. The art style is excellent, and the armor and different things you can equip are very, very good. Just to display some of these armors, I'm showing you a couple of things you could put on here. I mean, the armor's really nice, and a lot of times in chests even, you'll pick up an entire armor set, and you can make your character look as badass as you want. Obviously, provided you watch your weight, so you're not going to roll too slow. If I put on too many heavy pieces of gear, you're eventually going to start rolling a lot slower, so you need to keep that in mind. But just go in with the impression that this game is slow as shit, and you need to really understand what works for you in order to conquer your enemies. If you don't do what the game wants you to do in some of these other areas, like where you need to take out those like spiky enemies with the shields, then you're just going to get fucked up and you're going to get really mad. So go into this with an open mind. I don't recommend getting it. I'd totally recommend waiting for this to go down in price, because it is an interesting RPG. It is fun. The story totally sucks. It's just about some like barbarian guy that gets out of prison and he's on like some revenge quest or something. But just go into it with the fun of building up your character and taking the Dark Souls-esque gameplay into the next generation. Is this Dark Souls? Hell no, but it's definitely worth playing. One last thing I want to mention there, as I died once again and I looked at my ghost. When you die, your ghost has like a white aura where you last died, and that's where your experience lays. Now, on the bottom left, it doesn't show it here because I didn't have any experience because I died twice, but and I also put the points towards a strength upgrade. But when you die, you have this white aura that will show up in the general area of where you died. Now, I believe it's not showing up here because I didn't get any experience, but usually it'll have like a white aura, and then you can go pick it up. And the longer you let it sit, the more it'll drain the experience from that mist. So you gotta have to get to that quickly so that you can regain your lost experience. Now, if you lose it in a boss fight, you're sort of screwed up shit creek like Dark Souls. Like, you might want to just go ahead and beat the boss first. I'll show you guys what I mean here. I killed that one person, so you'll see the aura this time, because the experience is now going to be on that mist. But yeah, expect to die a lot, but nowhere near as much as Dark Souls. A lot of people that I've talked to haven't really had much trouble with the opening enemies, especially the bosses. I have, because I've just been having a lot of difficulty getting used to this game's hit detection and dodge system. And a lot of it, I think, is just poor game design. I think they didn't really put enough time into the hit detections and hitboxes and stuff. But, I mean, I don't know. That's something maybe they could patch. Who knows? But, yeah, you'll notice on the bottom left now it says 100%, and 80 is the number of experience. Only 80 experience points. That's not a lot at all. So you want to run to it, hold the Y button, and now you regain your lost experience. So, yeah, like Dark Souls, you can go right back to your last location and you don't lose health or anything in this one. There's really no penalty beyond that. So I hope this helped you determine if you're going to buy this or not. Overall, I would say wait for a price drop. It's a lot of fun, but it definitely doesn't own up to Dark Souls, that's for sure. It can't take away that from us. So thanks for watching, and I hope I helped you save yourself some money.